Agent Romanov. You miss me?
Oh yeah, Charles, we got ourselves an X-Men fan.
Captain.
Your Highness.
Captain, big fan, Spider-Man. Hey everyone.
Hey guys, and welcome to 𝗪𝗁𝗃𝗀𝗀, your #1 source for all things films and movies. And over the course of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's been a ton of actors that fans have really fallen in love with over the years. And while we've looked at other actors who have a reputation of giving out spoilers for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Elizabeth Olsen has definitely built up a record of her own when it comes to trying to keep some rumors or spoilers out of the public's dialogue. And it's been really interesting to look back at various interviews, knowing what we know now about the show, to see some tough spots where Elizabeth Olsen really tried to dodge to the best of her ability some of the spoilers that she could easily give out. And in some cases, she slipped up a little bit, and in other cases, she just barely dodges the bullet and gets away with not answering a difficult question. So let's go ahead and jump into this and look at some of these instances. For example, on an interview with Seth Meyers, we actually saw Elizabeth Olsen talk a little bit about having a hard time trying not to spoil things from the show WandaVision.
Yeah, it's really complicated. I want to talk about all the sitcoms. I want to talk about how it's like sitcom, but not just a sitcom. And how do you tease that and keep people interested who want the action and then get new people interested in the sitcom part? And hopefully you don't lose them in the action. So, yeah.
This type of conversation does come up from time to time. Like, another example is when Elizabeth Olsen was doing the press tour for WandaVision. She did an interview on Jimmy Kimmel, and she talks a little bit about fan theories and some other things, and really has to make sure she's doing the best of her ability to avoid answering some big questions or giving away things in her answers to other questions.
Can you say anything? Can you tell us anything that hasn't already been revealed?
No.
No, okay.
I mean, you know that, but I think I can say it's Wanda and Vision living their suburban sitcom dreams.
Yes, and some of them are set in the 50s, and they progress along decade to decade.
Matter of fact, if we look back a while earlier, we actually know that Elizabeth Olsen did in fact spoil Avengers Infinity War just completely outright, but at the time she didn't have the track record that like someone maybe like Tom Holland has, so a lot of people just brushed the interview aside and thought she was joking about the plot of Avengers Infinity War, but she definitely gave it all away.
Fun.
And then Thanos is like, give me the Infinity Gauntlet. And Scarlet Witch is like, I don't think so.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Tell me you did not just ruin the ending of Infinity War.
No, because everyone dies.
Lizzie!
I thought everyone knew that.
On a different occasion, Elizabeth Olsen was on Jimmy Kimmel, and he was asking about kind of what she was allowed to say, and she kind of redirected the question to say that she didn't know what she was allowed to say because she didn't know anything that was going on. And honestly, we do believe that the actors know a little bit more than what they actually let on for these interviews, but it was a pretty good aversion from the main question.
I actually have no idea what I'm allowed to say.
Okay, then just spill it, say it all.
Right, because we haven't even started. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say, if I'm supposed to start or not start, or we're in the middle of it. I don't know what they want us to say. But when I found out about it, Feige had Paul and I come in at different times into his office, and it really felt like being called into the principal's office.
This one is actually really recently. It was just from the MTV Movie and TV Awards a few nights ago, but Elizabeth Olsen was questioned about future projects and things like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and she has to kind of jump through some hoops to make sure she's not revealing too much and kind of redirect the conversation into some production topics and some talks about storylines and whatnot that were used for WandaVision rather than talking about the future.
It's a good transition into
so
Doctor Strange
excited.
too. One leads into the other.
And we're going to see multiverses. We're going to see a lot of different kind of...
That's what it's called, apparently.
It felt
Right?
like I was
Isn't
breaking
it
the news to
program?
you.
Yeah. The multiverse.
Multiverse of Madness.
I don't know. We called it something else on set.
What did you call it?
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say because it's like the secret thing, right?
But first, we wanted to give a quick reminder, we do have a really awesome Instagram page that updates you guys on everything happening Marvel immediately. So if you guys want to follow us on Instagram, check it out, link in the description. There's also a ton of really awesome memes and other things that are posted on there. So make sure you guys are following that page, and let's go ahead and jump into this story. Similarly enough, when asked about the implications of Evan Peters joining up on WandaVision, Elizabeth Olsen has to talk about how she was really excited about it, but also not reveal any real details as to why the character showed up in WandaVision.
That was one of the most exciting things I found out when we heard that Evan was going to do it. My mind was blown. I was like, this is the first time we're merging. Like, this is crazy. And then to use it in such a clever way as Jack does was so satisfying. And working with Evan playing this version of Pietro is just so...
Then in another interview, we actually saw Elizabeth Olsen talk a little bit about the excitement for fans learning the backstory to her character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe by having a dedicated show. And while for the most part that was going pretty smoothly, things started to fall apart shortly later in the next part of the interview, when Elizabeth Olsen starts to recap one of the first times she was supposed to come out on stage and discuss her character in the show and what the plans were for the show, where things kind of slipped up a bit. She wasn't able to fully explain things the way that maybe she was supposed to, but it is interesting hearing back to the story.
The show will explore why she's known as Scarlet Witch and how she is Scarlet Witch as opposed to Wanda. We've always referred to her as Wanda in our films. So it's an exciting opportunity.
Then in another interview, which was done during and before the events of Avengers Endgame, we do hear Elizabeth Olsen talk a little bit about her character and the connection to Vision and how maybe there's an implication with one of the Infinity Stones and that could possibly lead to more things down the road. But then she concludes it with the fact that her character was dead, because this interview was after Avengers Infinity War, though this became a major plot point suggested during WandaVision that ended up getting used. So she kind of dances around the subject and just concludes that her character is dead, not to give away the fact that her character would be coming back and more of those plot points would be explored into the future.
I think the only thing I can tell you is that we're going to start work on it this fall. And Paul and I are really excited, and we're really excited about, we already know what the story's gonna be, and it's good stuff. I'm just happy we can talk about it now, because I've known about it for a very long time.
In one of the earliest interviews for WandaVision, when the cast was assembled to do interviews, but nothing was really revealed more than just these types of interviews as far as what the show would be about, we do see Elizabeth Olsen doing the best she can to try to dance around talking about the actual plot of the show. And then of course, when we did start to see details of WandaVision become more prevalent, a lot of people kind of locked into the idea that the show would jump between various decades, and of course there were questions as to whether or not there would be some sort of homages to shows like Full House, which her sisters starred in. And once again, without trying to reveal anything, Elizabeth Olsen does the best she can to answer a question like that.
Definitely inspired by anyone who is a big Marvel fan. This world that we're creating is fully inspired by comics that exist. And they are also mashups of different comics that exist that are fan favorites. And I think we're finally getting to tell those stories.
Similarly, Elizabeth Olsen kind of did the best she could to not spoil the whole backstory and premise of WandaVision, which wasn't really revealed until the later parts of the show, and kind of talks more about a blank slate beginning without it actually being a blank slate, and kind of bounces back and forth between that dialogue just to redirect the question in a different way.
Like, nothing else exists except this moment and us starting anew, and not even starting anew because there is no other. This is just how it is. It is a complete blank slate as opposed to a clean slate. Like, nothing was wiped off. It's blank. And that's how we approached it. And the show is what starts to inform the characters.
And then of course, Elizabeth Olsen did do one of the Google autocomplete search interviews, and a lot of those questions were actually really relevant for the plot points of WandaVision, and the way she answers them is very calculated as well.
Is Elizabeth Olsen
Scarlet Witch. That's more of a meta question, I guess. What blank superhero is Elizabeth Olsen? Scarlet Witch, but I just figured out we never say Scarlet Witch, I don't think, in the franchise.
So what did you guys think? Do you think Elizabeth Olsen struggles a little bit with giving out spoilers, or do you think for the most part she's done a pretty good job? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on for more videos like this uploaded every day of the week. That's it for today though. We'll see you all next time with a brand new video.